Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities. We're going to work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it. If you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive deeper into all of these topics, subjects, and sectors looking for potential investment opportunities. We do have a coupon code special that is still active. Mayday coupon code, MAYDAY. It's one word. That's active. It gets you 50% off the first month only, or you can get a larger discount on the yearly membership. All right, let's take a look, see what's going on, starting with the dollar. And again, the dollar is a relative strength indicator. It is not absolute. It is compared against other fiat currencies. When the dollar underperforms, generally money flows towards the outperforming currencies. So if the dollar underperforms some other currency, generally what you'll see is money will start to rotate differently in the markets. As of right now, we've got this big, strong upward move that is continuing to the upside, and we've hit some resistance, and we have a small down candlestick today. We're right at that resistance level, that blue line there, and there's the resistance line I'm talking about. It is possible that we break through this and run to the upside if yields continue to move higher. Yields are the driver of this. Stronger yields in America compared to the yields in other currencies and the strength of the monetary policy of the currencies that this is being evaluated against is what gets you the mismatch between the DXY moving up or down. So right now, we're right on that resistance support level. We are trying to potentially break through it, and that's basically where we're at this moment. The 2-year yield dropped a little bit today, but again, we're still in an uptrend and have not broken through that trend line yet. We've got the 10-year yield, which is flat. We're right there, right above support, and that supports this guy going across. It was acting as resistance, and now it is going to act as support since we're sitting on top of it. And then the 30-year was up 0.6%, and that is above a lot of resistance. The resistance of this guy going across there, and the resistance of this guy going across there. So the way that I view the 30-year is that this is cleared to go higher. And all of this other stuff is now support underneath us. So it's going to be hard to break through it, and the path of least resistance is higher. TYX TNX ratio is just trending sideways today. We were up 0.17%. It looks like we are trying to reverse this trend with a big bullish engulfing, and that does look like we could go sideways or higher over time. That is generally good for precious metals coming from this low area. If we were to uninvert, that is where precious metals do very well, that market condition. TLT still heading a little bit lower. Here we are, we're just tracking lower, lower, lower. We were down 0.27%. We are underneath all of that resistance. So this is resistance now, and this is resistance going across. We do have a lot of support right where it's at. It could get pretty muddy with all of this previous trading that occurred in the mid-2000s, all through here. So that's going to act like support resistance. It could get stuck in this level here. The 2 and 10, we had the yield curve uninvert by about a percentage today, 1%. That's your red candlestick there. But we are above a broken downtrend line, and we are just chopping sideways, which could mean that the curve could reinvert. So that's something we want to watch. We want to watch to see what the yield curve does, because that is one of the factors that could play into a potential decision to cut rates, or is showing us that there is market weakness and people are preferring to trade back into bonds. So if we saw that, we would see a move lower. And this is where you get your events, recession, slowdown, and then there's like an event. 9/11 occurred somewhere in here. So that the 9/11 event was somewhere this big drop there. We had the 2008 financial crash was in here, and this was the COVID release of COVID. And of course, the bond market knew that each of these events were already going to come, and they were already heading lower at those times, which means that they're planned events, is my guess. Gold down a little bit, looking like we've still got that downside momentum. We've got support in the region that we're coming to, and that's why we've slowed down. With the candlestick sizing, you can see that the opening and closing prices are getting shallower and shallower as we come into support. So we'll see if we can turn here at the support level and consolidate and try to turn it around, or if we consolidate upward, create some pattern, and then go back lower. If we continue lower in gold, it could indicate that there is a problem in the market, like a recession, a slowdown, something coming. It could. Silver is down a little bit. I think this is looking better. I've got this nice little potential falling wedge, not stating that it is 100% a falling wedge. Whenever it's this steep, I kind of doubt it, but we're above support. We've got good support around 29.25, somewhere in that range, and we're trading at $30.33. So we just have to wait and see what happens. See if we get any bullish candlesticks or something like that for a reversal. Platinum heading up a little bit today, but the momentum's still to the downside. It's not a reversal candlestick. There's no conviction here in terms of a big bounce. It's just small little up days. So you fall, consolidate, you fall, consolidate, and then we could keep falling to an eventual bottom at some point. Palladium's up a little bit today. It's trying to make a turn, but here it is. Down. It's still downside momentum. We got to turn that momentum around. It's going to take a little bit of time, probably at support, and then we'll have to see what the pattern it creates. GDX down 0.62%, GDXJ down 0.53%, and SILJ down 0.6%. The momentum is still down in all of them, and some of them are up against support areas, like GDXJ is kind of right at this support level. It is getting a little bit through it, where it's kind of piercing through this thing. We do have some support coming across here too, which we are breaking, and we could see further downside. What does that mean? Maybe there is a slowdown coming. Maybe that's what it's signaling. We would see, in my opinion, we would also see potentially the yield curve uninvert. We haven't seen that yet. XAU to gold ratio, we're back down a little bit right here, and we're still above the big downtrend line. Everything's okay. We're holding on. We're at a very cheap level. Crude oil down 2.45%. Here's that downward move. This is I said yesterday that we probably could get a little bit of a sell-off here. We could even come back down, and that is still possible for crude oil. We're at support. We'll see if support holds, or we could pop out of this and come down to maybe even $60, which is about $7 below. Some people say that this could be some sort of event where we come all the way down. It very well could be. It very well could be, and I don't know if there needs to be extra pressure for that to occur, like an event or something like that. But we're at support, and we'll see if it holds. TTF nat gas down about 1%. Still looks good. Momentum's up. We've got natural gas in America. This is at our resistance support area, and that's right where we're at. We're right at that long-term, well, not long-term, but somewhat long-term support resistance area that we're trying to break through, and it still looks like we could break through it. It still looks good. Big buying pressure, small little candlesticks. Still looks good to go higher. We've got XOP down about 1%, with oil being down. It's holding its own. We're up against resistance. We are above this support area that we've broken out of. If this was major bearish, if it was, we should have sold off here. We shouldn't have come back up. So it is weird that we've come back up in a bullish stance, trying to break through resistance, which is a bullish act by the market. It's bullish. And the resistance areas that we're trying to break through is this guy going here and this guy going here. Now, it's bearish that we are underneath it. We are still bearish and we have to break through, but we're kind of at a crossroads here between buyers and sellers. OIH down 1.6%, getting a little bit of a pullback off of this resistance level. We had a nice little setup going on here, but it looks like we're getting a little bit more selling pressure here. Newcastle coal working its way on up a little bit, 0.7%, and we're still underneath this resistance level. If TTF gas keeps going higher and nat gas in America, I do think this will eventually break to the upside. We've got Sprott Physical Uranium Trust up 3.4% today. Nice huge wick at the top. Looks like there's some selling pressure up there, but it's doing all right. It's within this big pattern. Still looks good. We've got uranium futures pricing up about 0.9%. We're right at the resistance area there. Support resistance, not a very strong one, but it's looking good. Maybe we can gather some momentum to the upside here. URA down slightly. Not a very huge candlestick here. It looks like it tried to run. It's some resistance. We're right between resistance support, right where we're at. URANIUM in the same situation. We've got some resistance ahead of us, and we've got support underneath us. It tried to run this morning, but it looked like we got a little bit of selling pressure towards the end of the day. URNJ under the same thing, right up against support and right up against some resistance. Depending on where you draw this line, you could put another one there. Copper down slightly. It's trying to turn. That's why you get the compression of the opening and closing price. But sideways action, and we'll see which direction it goes here. You can also put a trend line on the bottom here, like that. We're at support there. COPX, doing the same thing as copper, just down slightly. It's trying to turn. We'll see if it's successful at turning. We've got iron ore down a little bit, 0.5%. We are seeing some selling pressure kind of across a lot of these precious metals, crude oil, copper, iron ore is fitting in. It's getting a little bit of selling pressure here. Aluminum up 5.35%. Big move to the upside there, and then slapped its face right on that resistance line that I've had there for a long time. So it's still at resistance. Nickel down about 1%. It is looking like it's getting a little bit more selling pressure here. Could still have some more downside left in nickel. It was trying to turn here. It can still turn, but we're getting a little bit strong selling pressure occurring this past week. Mu up about 0.3% right on support. Momentum is to the downside, though. It is to the downside. Emerging markets just holding steady, moving sideways, coming off a momentum from the downside. KRE moving sideways. Not much to really report here, guys. It's just tracking sideways. And again, remember, we've got flat dollar and yields were mixed today. So TAN down 3.5%. That doesn't look too good. That looks like it wants to break lower. We've got lithium down 1.95. We're right at resistance, and we're hitting some resistance here. It is selling off a little bit today, but it's still holding on. REMX down a little bit, right on support, the horizontal support line, and you can see a little wick at the bottom, so it's holding at this time. Baltic Dry Index up 3.8%, and that one actually looks pretty good compared to everything else, and we're going to come into resistance here any second. XHB getting some selling pressure. This does look like it wants to go lower. We came up and hit resistance, and this was a inverted flag pattern where we could see this fall. We're seeing a lot of bearish setups here. A lot of bearish setups are starting to come out. Russell 2000 selling off. Good momentum. There's good support kind of at this location there. We'll see if it holds. We've got SPX pulling on back 1.3%. We do have support right where we're at. We've got NASDAQ selling off 2.24, a little bit more of a higher selling pressure day today. And this is a weird setup, guys. And we've got rising wedges all over the place and some pretty big selling pressure all over this. Not a bullish setup, in my opinion. SMCI up a little bit, 3%. I wouldn't touch it even with your money, but that looks momentum still down. NVIDIA, we have a rising wedge here potentially. We broke out a little bit and then came back inside the pattern today. We'll see if that momentum is shifting and if we have any sort of follow through to the downside. We have a wick at the bottom, so we need more data. Bitcoin's up 3.6%. I said we got some selling pressure up here. We'll see if it can regain momentum and keep going. But it's a pretty strong candlestick and it closed pretty strong today. We've got Ethereum up 1.3%. It's still in this big, huge pattern of sideways action is what I'll call it. And then we've got the VIX that is starting to turn up a little bit, up about 12.8%. That is on top of support here, this big long-term support level. So we broke out, squeezed, popped lower, and then we'll see if it actually works its way on up. That means that the markets could sell off and the volatility could move on up, is what we're seeing there. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website if you're interested. We've got a Sunday question and answer session at 5 p.m. Mountain Time if you're interested in joining and asking questions. There's some people that have asked some questions already. I will answer those during the question and answer session. And it deals kind of with strategies to some degree. So we'll talk about strategy still. And also cost averaging in and what I mean by kind of slowly buying things, sprinkling in versus adding larger amounts, and when I do that. But that's what I've got. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.